Okay, step over, pass over, here we go. So the first bend, it all depends on what you're going over. If you're going over the top of a 15mm pipe, it will be a different first bend to if you're going over the top of a waste pipe, which I'm going to show you on the bench now. Okay, so on the bench here, I've got 3 pieces of tube. One's a 90-degree bend, one's a 45 and one's a 30, which I've pulled on the bender. So, for example, if we were going to go over this 15mm pipe in a clip and we used the 90-degree bend, we can see that our next bend to get us on that would be there, and that would create quite a nice shape. We could also do it with a 45-degree bend, still getting a nice shape, but you'll see the second and third bend now are getting further away. We're getting more of a gap here, a bit of wasted space. And then again, if we use a 30-degree bend, we're getting even further away. And all I'm trying to get you to see here is, let's say we use a bigger thing like we're going over a waste pipe. You need to determine what you're going over before you pull your first bend. So on this going over a waste pipe, next bend's there and there, you've probably got about 2 inches either side. If we move to a 45, we're now about 4 inches away. A lot of wasted space. So when people say they're unsure of which bend to pull first, it all depends on what you are going over. So we decided what we're going over. We're going to go over a 22mm copper pipe. So my first bend, I'm going to do about 60 degrees because I think that's perfect. So somewhere about there. I'm going to find the point in the throat of that pipe where it goes back to its full thickness, and when I pop it back into the bender, I'm going to put the inside of my hook sort of level with that point, and then I'm going to pop this in. I'm going to have a look at it, make sure it's plumb. And then as a general rule, if your first bend was 60, your second bend is half of that, so this should be about a 30-degree bend. But I'm also, as I do it, I'm going to look at it. Now, as we look in the bender, if I use my spare piece, I can see that my second bend, which was there, means my third bend is going to be there. I've created that shape visually in my head. I know my third bend's going to be there, and I know when I do bend that in line with that, that is the perfect shape of a passover, step over. So flip it back out, pop it in the bender, and then I'm going to have a look at it. I'm going to have a look at it from the top. And then you can also do this trick where you just bring it around and make sure that that is going to line up with that and that you're happy. Always on your third bend, don't be afraid of checking it as many times as possible, because what a lot of people will do is they know that their next bend is on here, they'll pop it in and they'll bend it. Well, if I bent that there without looking at it, if you follow this now, we're not in line, we're actually below, 15mm below, so that if that was going in clips, it would be wrong. So you always need to look at it multiple times to make sure that when you do your third bend, it is where you want it to be. So we'll check that. Another great tip, if we can see this from the camera above, is look through it, because you can see in your mind's eye, looking through that, if it's going to line up and if it's going to look good, which is what I will always do. And then I'll try and bend this so the camera can see it, and just bring it around until they line up. And that is a pretty perfect passover, step over to get us over the 22mm pipe that we intended to. Now, I'm going to show you a foolproof way, so I'll pop that there, grab my pre-marked bender. So you can see on this I've got only two really obvious marks, One's my first bend and one's my second bend. So I'm going to show you that now. So pop our tube in there. And what those marks do is it's to the outside edge of the arm of the bender. So once that's lined up with that, that's your first bend. Then you spin it round. The thing I said to you before about the hook on the throat of the pipe, on that line, do that. Have a look at it to make sure it's plumb. And then go to your second bend, which is, second mark, which is there. Whip it round again. And then this time all we've got to do is look at it. Like I said to you before, look down it, look through it. When you're happy with the position of it, back to that same mark there with the outside of the handle. And without having to mark the pipe, measure the pipe, you've done a pretty perfect, if you compare those two together, Stepover. Now, to get these marks, it's going to be trial and error. Your first one, it should be about 60 degrees and the second one 30, but pull your first one, experiment with it. When you're happy, make sure you mark that permanent, and then that will stay on your bender. So if someone says to you, pull me a quick pass over, bang, 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 3 easy steps and you've got the perfect passover. So that is the passover, the most complicated bend that we will have to do in our job, in a pretty foolproof method. If you've got any questions about that, leave me a comment and I'll try and answer them. So that is a passover, probably the most difficult bend that we have to do in our profession, but I've showed you a way there to do it super fast, really easily, without much thought, by marking your benders. So I can't see any reason why you would not want to do that. It's a great skill to have, great job satisfaction, and it performs so much better than if you use the fitting equivalent. So hopefully you've learned something from that video. If you've got any questions about this, drop me a comment and I'll try and answer them.